What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Copy Narrates, and today's stories come from r/entitled people. Our next story comes from Girls KTH. My step-grandparents claim to be American-loving, military-supporting people, but don't even care about their veteran son. Posting this is a mistake, because if any member of my family finds it, I'll be in deep doo-doo. But I think about it all the time, and just have to share, because it's unbelievable how they behave. I'm not sure if this is exactly entitled behaviour, but they without a doubt think the world revolves around them, so I'm posting it here anyways. TLDR at the bottom. I, female 19, have known my stepdad, male 44, and his family since I was 2 years old, and I've called him dad for the vast majority of my life. His biological father passed away when I was very young, so I never knew him. His parents, who I've always considered my grandparents, are actually his mother and stepfather. There's a long history of drama, including the fact that his mom was not a very good mother, kept my dad and his brother from their father because she didn't like him, was the mistress of my dad's now stepdad, who was cheating on his wife, and eventually left her for my dad's mom. And both her and my step-granddad have caused a million problems with their blood family and my mom. His mom was a single mom and worked 2 jobs to provide for her kids, so she deserves some credit there too. My dad and his older brother, 48 male, were both in the military from the time they graduated high school. My dad was in the Air Force and my uncle was in the army. My dad told me it's partly because most of their extended family were in the military too, and partly because his mom never even mentioned college as an option. They were both deployed to multiple different countries in active war, and my uncle was even in active combat at some points. They both struggle with PTSD, but it's never been an actual conversation. I've only started hearing stories from my parents and cousin the last year since I became an adult. I've only talked to my dad about his PTSD once or twice, and it wasn't for long because I tell it was upsetting him, and it broke my heart. I've never spoken to my uncle about it, or even heard him or his wife acknowledge it in front of people. My uncle's PTSD has gone farther than my dad's, and I've heard stories about my uncle having flashbacks in the night and his wife having to bring him back to reality, and another story where someone tried to break in and it didn't go very well. No one was injured or killed. He's a really good family man, and I know it kills him to have those episodes in front of his family. Now on to my grandparents. I've never liked going to their house very much, mainly because it's boring. They don't have toys for his kids to play with, and had strict rules that ruined the fun. Being there without my cousins is miserable, but I still love them, and still do love them, because they're family, and I've known them since I was really little. They're typical conservative Republican Trump lovers, and they're always bragging about being a military family and saying how proud they are of their sons. Since I've gotten older, I've been told some of the family drama secrets by my parents and cousins. One of those is about how my grandma worships her husband and will take his side and defend him over anyone, which has led to some issues. Everyone can kind of tell that most of what she does is for sure, and nothing ever feels genuine. It's all about Facebook posts and what other people think. Talking to her feels like she doesn't know how to have a genuine conversation with someone. I just wanted to say at this point in the video, please do bear with me, as this next part is a giant block of text with no formatting that's quite hard to read, but I am going to do my best to read it. Anyways, the actual story starts last year on vacation. My grandparents have a lot of money and take us, grandkids and our parents on vacation to an undisclosed beach city in SC almost every year. I think that's South Carolina or Southern California. Gotta be Southern California, right? They're fun, but there's a lot of times where the all for sure attitude gets in the way, and those kids feel like we can't have fun without getting scolded. Every year there's some sort of drama, but I never expected something this bad. My grandpa is old, and we all know how old people are when their phone rings and they take 3 years to answer it. His alarm is the loud Apple alarm that sounds like an actual alarm. The first few times this happened, I noticed my aunt and cousins, female 42, female 22, and male 13, making weird faces at my uncle. I didn't think too much about it and connected 0 dots. The first or second night, we went to dinner, and at a restaurant, There was no one that wanted to go, by the way, and it happened again. Particularly loud and annoying. He ignored his phone for a minute, and everyone was irritated. My aunt and cousins were looking at my uncle again, with a more intense look on their face this time. I looked at him and he was just staring at the table, with his arms crossed on the table. Again, I didn't really connect the dots. After dinner, my older cousin, who I've always been close with, asked to go with me and my parents to the grocery store. On the way out of the restaurant, she immediately brought up what had been happening with the phone alarm. She told me that exact alarm triggers my uncle's PTSD really badly, and my grandpa refuses to change it, and my grandma refuses to make him change it. Not only that, but this has been going on for years, and basically all the adults know. This made me remember stuff that had happened before, and it made a lot more sense. Like on our trip in 2021, my grandpa got a phone call, and I remember all of us were sitting in the living room of the hotel room. My uncle was just sitting there, with his hand on his face, staring at the floor, and a minute later he got up and said he was gonna go fly a kite. A couple of months after my cousin told me, I brought it up to my dad, and he told me exactly what memory my uncle that's been triggered, because my dad went through the same thing, just not as much as my uncle. He said when you're deployed to a country in active war, your base has alarms that go off when bombs are being dropped close to the base. No one can go anywhere, and the alarms go off for hours. He said you just sit there, listening to them for hours, even days, bracing for death. That's the time he got upset and had tears in his eyes, so I stopped asking questions. So that's what my uncle is thinking about whenever my grandpa's phone goes off, and they don't care at all. I don't know anything about PTSD, but I imagine one memory being triggered can bring on other painful memories as well. There's one thing my uncle went through that severely effed him up, and that was so bad, I'm not even going to say what it is, but there's no doubt his mum knows about that, and she still doesn't care. Knowing what happened, I can't imagine being a mother and allowing even a chance of those memories being triggered. I lost a massive amount of respect for my step-grandparents, and I'll never look at them the same. It really makes me think about how horrible veterans treated in this country. Their sacrifices are advertised and used to promote the military, but their actual needs are ignored once they retire, and they can't be used anymore. It makes me sick, and I'm so sorry to all the veterans out there who suffer. Thank you for your service. You deserve so much better from the country you fought to protect. TLDR, my step-grandparents brag about being a military family. My stepdad and his brother were both in the military since high school and both deal with PTSD. My uncle more so than my dad. My step-grandparents' phone ringtone sounds like a real alarm and triggered my uncle's PTSD and can send him into flashbacks. My grandpa, my dad and uncle's stepfather, refuses to change his ringtone, and my grandma, dad and uncle's bio mother refuses to force him to change it. This has been going on for years, and my uncle suffers through this every year on our week-long beach vacation. Veterans deserve better. And I agree with OP on this one. Veterans do deserve better. The way they are treated and after they leave service is not acceptable. Even if they don't have PTSD and stuff, transitioning back into normal society, there is just very little help for that, and it's wrong. There should be levels of help all the way through, from those who are permanently injured, to those who suffer from PTSD, to those who are struggle reintegrating into normal society, rather than just abandonment. It shouldn't be up to VA centres and stuff to fill that gap. It should be up to the government to provide as much support as needed. As the government sent them out there, the government employ them, and the government should have a duty of care to take care of them after their service. But we're going to hop into the comments, so let's do that, shall we? Helpful Particular 60 says, Hoppy, I'm so sorry that your uncle is having to deal with this, and your dad, but this sounds particularly triggering for your uncle. The level of trauma that's being triggered, and the fix being such a simple, insignificant thing. It's insane that it wasn't done years ago. There's so many good loud sounds that can be used that sound nothing like an alarm. I completely understand you losing respect in this situation. I just want to say what a lovely, respectful, caring young woman you are. You can see how much your dad and uncle mean to you from the words you write. That's such a precious bond to have with both of them. I wish them both all the healing for their future in you. You just keep that big heart of yours. If love alone could fix the ailments, they'd both be cured for sure. And OP replies to that with, "This is like one of the nicest things anyone has ever said to me. Thank you so much. I will continue to try my best and spread as much love as I can." Our next story comes from Dragon Never Sleeps. My brother-in-law thinks the endangered species list should be removed. Please inform me if this doesn't belong here, thank you. On our way back to work today, we carpooled to save gas. My brother-in-law got upset that people on the left side of the road were swerving around a pair of geese. I told him that they were protected, and he said they should just get rid of that list. They could just clone the stupid animals. I personally think this isn't right, but I didn't want to argue, so I kept my mouth shut. Not looking for advice, just needed to rant. We'll hop into the comment section. Gigantes Ghastly says, people seem to think ecosystem protection is pure sentimentality for cute animals and forget that we need healthy ecosystems for, eating and breathing and drinking and stuff. Another commenter says, those are usually the same people who deny climate change. My brother is one. He told me I was crazy for thinking the earth was going away. I had to explain to him that the planet would be fine, people just wouldn't survive. The earth can and will shake us all off like fleas and start over. And yeah, I don't know what else to say at that one. Your brother has issues. Also, imagine having the mentality that you should just wipe all the animals off the planet, that get in the way, because we'll just clone them. It's just stupid. We should get rid of them all and just clone one and keep it. Why do we need them all? In fact, I do think that's entitled. Imagine being so entitled that you think that animals should be wiped off the earth so you alone can live on it. Wow, that is human entitlement to the max. Let me know what you guys think about this one down below. Our next story comes from The Tiger Heart. Can you imagine how your dad feels? This incident has been on my mind a lot lately, and it's still so shocking I had to share. I am 22 female. The context this story takes place when I was 15. About my father and his girlfriend at the time, and I believe still. At the time of this story, I had only just met my father. I was 14 when I finally met my father for the first time ever, a week before my 15th birthday. At the time, best gift ever. My mum had been helping me to try and find him for years. I had a stepdad who adopted me when I was 4 and raised me until I was 9. Him and my mum broke up, but he tried to stay in my life for a while after. My mum and him got back together when I was 15 also. So comes Father Day after I finally reunite with my bio dad. At the time, my dad doesn't have any social media, so we talk through his girlfriend. Let's call her M. So it's Father's Day. My mum and my adoptive father have just gotten back together, and my bio dad is finally in my life. This suddenly became a very complicated Father's Day. Now, when my mum and adoptive dad were broken up, there was some issues, and I had a fight with my adoptive dad when I was 12 and hadn't super talked to him since. But I wanted to make an effort for my mum to repair the bridge. I'm officially a full-blown teenager after all. But also I wanted to brag about my real dad being in my life. So I, as a sweet 15-year-old little girl, who as my friends joke is daddy's girl without a daddy, I made a post thanking my adoptive father for stepping up during my formative years and being there when I needed someone. Then also bragging that my biological dad was in my life now and how excited I was to build an unbreakable bond with him and learn all about him and that side of my family. Well, that same day, my dad's girlfriend messaged me to tell me what a horrible kid I was because can you imagine how your father felt reading that? You broke his heart. I tried to explain that I didn't have dad, but I wasn't alone. I didn't want to dismiss the time and effort my adoptive father spent looking after me when he did, just because I found my real dad. But I'm sorry if it hurt my father that I chose to include them both. And I was told that I was a terrible kid and my little sister, also not her kid, and who I had never met, never even known about, would never do such a thing. I just remember curling up in my room and crying because I just had a perfect stranger all but tell me that I was not good enough for my own father because I wanted to be considerate to everyone. And if that isn't entitled behaviour to think she had the right to scold me like that when she has no relationship to me, I don't know what is. And wow, OP, I don't know if that is entitled, but that is certainly cruel. Your dad's girlfriend is just cruel. But let's move into the comment, shall we? This comment comes from Big 420 Head. Wow, you tried to handle that like an adult, and dad's girlfriend had gall to say something to you? Your adopted dad had you more in your life than bio dad. What did he think would happen? Comes running to you like a saviour? Another commenter says, you didn't find your real dad, you found your father. Your real dad is the one who stepped up, who fed you, clothed you, parented you, etc. Your dad at that time hadn't earned the term dad. You were gracious in referring to him in that way in the first place, and the girlfriend should have known that, and had no right to butt into your feelings that you may or may not have had for the man that fathered you. And I agree with that. She had no right to butt into your feelings, and what she did was just cruel. And I hope things get better for you, OP. I really, really do. You say you're 22 now, so I hope things have gotten better, at least in life, and you don't have to deal with that person anymore.